Welcome to this bonus episode of the Bentonville Beacon podcast, where we're sharing thoughts, experiences, and wisdom from the attendees of the 2022 Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit, the premier technology summit in the American Heartland. This year, the conference had 1,700 attendees from most U.S. states and some international visitors who moved between 5 concurrently active venues across downtown Bentonville. The summit included 5 programming tracks spanning mobility and supply chain, cybersecurity, health and wellness, entrepreneurship, and Web 3.0. And now, let's hear from a few attendees of the 2022 Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit. Hey Connor, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. How's it going?
Pretty well, pretty well. Hey, tell me about you. What would you like our audience to know about you?
So I am an automation and robotics engineer. I went to the University of Arkansas, studied mechanical engineering. I was in the marching band, so I'm, love the Arkansas sports. I'm actually not from Northwest Arkansas, but I've grown to love it all here. Did engineering, and then I moved on to did design engineering. So that was kind of my focus. While doing design engineering, I realized this field of robotics and automation. Decided to take a job doing that outside of Arkansas, and then had to be back. So I moved back for a role doing automation and robotics with Tyson Foods here in Springdale. Very happy to be here.
Wonderful. Okay, I've got to know, what instrument did you play in the marching band?
Trombone. I did trombone, but then
Really?
I was also the drum major, so I did the conducting for a year.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I, too, was a trombone player.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did not know I was going to meet a fellow trombone player. I shouldn't say fellow trombone player here because I haven't played in quite some time, and I bet it's been much more recent for you.
Yeah, it's been a while for me, but I try and break it out when I can.
Yeah, I was an all-state trombone player. Okay, that's not really true. It was in a, not the all-state band. It was in another band. That
Similar.
Called, yeah, but it wasn't
I'll count
that
it.
legit. But I'm calling All-State, man. It's like Alabama national titles.
It is.
How many
It's a
do
big
they say
deal.
They have 25 or something when they. Hey, Alabama fans, yell has more national championships than you. I know they're old. I'm not a fan of either team, thank goodness. Tyson Foods. Tell our audience about Tyson Foods in case they don't know who
So
Tyson is.
at Tyson Foods, we're the protein company. So we're providing food to the nation. We're doing things poultry, beef, different prepared foods, lots of bacon. Some of these favorite foods that a lot. Go to fast food companies. Things like Taco Bell and McDonald's and Wendy's. So we're providing these different foods. Mainly, your chicken nuggets is what you would know. The Dino Nuggets is what most people are familiar with.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. We're providing those foods.
Great. So let's see. I wrote it down. Automation and robotics engineer. What in the world is that?
So it can mean a few different things, but in the context for me, it's somebody who's taking things like robotic arms, and making that work for our company. So I'm taking it and we're developing systems around it. So we're taking the robots and we're seeing how can we make it do a job that works for our company. And having COVID with the labor shortage, these robots, they're a necessity. We don't have enough people. We need the robots to do some of these jobs. So that's what I'm helping Tyson do is get these robots prepared and programming them and training them to get robots actually out there working in our plants.
That's cool. So how are robotics and automation changing Tyson, and how's it changing the world?
It's really making a big difference right now. So like I said, with COVID labor shortage, there's a lot of positions need to be filled. And some of these are jobs that people don't want. So the ones people don't want are the first ones to be open. And in our context, it's some that are boring jobs, very repetitive. Some that might be strenuous on people. So it's the same thing over and over. It's not fun. And so if we can get a robot to do that, it's making people happy because they don't want to do it anyways. So that's where we're trying to go first. And other companies are doing the same thing. They're saying, what is the easiest job that we can replace with a robot, or not replace, but move people to more skilled labor, and it's saving us money. All these companies saving us money.
I have to tell you though, well, as an economic developer, I'm hearing about workforce shortage every single day and wondering where in the world all the workers are. And so, to the extent that I can, I understand the struggle and can totally see how this is going to make a difference today and in the future. Can you tell me, why are you at the Northwest Arkansas Tech Summit? What brought you here?
So here Tyson is just trying to provide, or let people know that Tyson is transforming into a technology company. We are a technology company. Tyson, in the past, we're making this shift to bringing in new things like automation, AI. We had our CTO, Scott Spradley, speak today at the Tech Summit. We're just trying to let people know that we are bringing in new technology, we're using it, and we need people to help with it, first of all. So if you know anybody, we're trying to get more automation and robotics engineers. But we're letting people know that we're here with Walmart and JB Hunt, and we're a part of Northwest Arkansas, this technology storm that's taken over, and we're improving our company, and we're trying to tell people how we're doing it, show them how they can do it, and then also just spread the news.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, if you were listening and you're an AI engineer or you're in automation and robotics, Northwest Arkansas is a great place to be. I bet you didn't know, and you may not know, Connor, that Northwest Arkansas has a higher density of tech workers per capita than places like Austin and Nashville and Charlotte and Denver. I could give you a whole laundry list. But right now, across the two-county region, we have more than 10,000 open jobs. More than 2,000 of those are tech roles. So Check it out. Okay, are you from Northwest Arkansas? Well, you said earlier you moved here. Where did you move here from?
From Southern California. So big difference, big change coming to Northwest Arkansas.
You betcha. Well, what brought you here?
So I went to the University of Arkansas. So that's what pulled me in. My grandpa was a professor there. My older sister and older brother actually went to the university, and they talked it up. And I just felt like that was the change I needed, and I think it really was. Fantastic move coming to Northwest Arkansas. I love it here. Wonderful.
So what did you expect you were getting yourself into coming here, and then what was reality?
Yeah, that's so in California, there's some stereotypes about Arkansas in the South, and we hear things, and I expected a field of corn and lots of cows, and I tell you, I flew into NWA Airport, and that's what I saw. And it wasn't until I took the 30-minute drive to Bentonville before I saw the city and realized this place, there's people that live here. And yes. I went to my first Razorbacks game, and I was like, this is it. This is the place.
That's great. Well, how has Northwest Arkansas, and I think we'll end on this question, how has Northwest Arkansas changed, and I guess tell us how much time you spent here, how it's changed in that amount of time, and look in the crystal ball. Tell us where you think it's going.
Yeah, so I've been here around 6 years, and even in that time, it has grown tremendously. So the university has grown a lot. Down in Fayetteville, there's a lot of new apartments being built, a little bit more traffic. Mm-hmm. And up in Bentonville, we've got new buildings up all the time, new restaurants, new activities. There's the rock climbing, there's the new mountain biking trails, there's disc golf courses. I'm a disc golfer. Great. And there's all this stuff that's springing up, and they're growing with the people. So these changes are following the trends for the population. And I see that continuing. So I see as it grows, we're going to get, more housing, bigger housing, more apartments, more things to do, even on top of what we have. So we're going to have more activities. I'm sure we're going to continue to be the mountain biking capital of the world. We're going to expand on that. things like Crystal Bridges, the art museum. I see that expanding. I see Northwest Arkansas being a city that is as well known as places like Austin, places like Dallas, or I see it growing to that point. That's what I see.
Great. Well, I said that was the last question, but now I have to ask you a couple more. Yeah. You mentioned mountain biking a couple of times. So do you ride? And if not, when are you starting?
I don't ride. I tried it once, and I did 8 miles, which was way too much. I'll tell you, I like the downhill. The uphill, I'll pass on
it. Got it. Well, I'm a novice mountain biker myself, and I've joked many times on this show, and the truth is it's not much of a joke. My biggest challenge is keeping the rubber side down, but I'm learning. So I want to ask you some rapid fire favorites.
Yeah.
Let's make these Bentonville favorite restaurants.
Oh man, you got me on the spot already. The sushi place. What's it called?
Oh, which one?
Right off the freeway.
It's oh gosh,
Sushi House.
Yes.
Sushi House.
That place is fantastic.
It's awesome. Also, Ramen Nara. That's a great place.
I haven't tried that.
I like both of those.
Okay. Favorite museum that's not Crystal Bridges?
Oh. Museum that's not Crystal Bridges.
You've got a few choices.
Well, the Momentary's right there.
There you go.
And I like the Momentary for the outdoors, and they got the restaurants right there too. So that's what I got.
Awesome. Okay, and just favorite thing to do in Northwest Arkansas?
Well, I mentioned it. It's disc golf, frisbee golf. So there's a lot of courses around here. The outdoors is amazing. Lots of great hiking. It's fantastic. It's a great fun. It's free. It's a great sport, so that's my favorite thing.
Awesome. Let's wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Connor.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let me introduce you to Mike Steely, the Chief Commercialization Officer for VERIPHIX. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much, James. Glad to be here.
Yeah, Mike, so tell our audience whatever they should know about you.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm born in Fort Smith, raised in Little Rock, have spent the bulk of my career here in the state working in technology with various companies, and I'm right now up in Bentonville for the past 3 months as part of the Fuel Accelerator with a new company.
Excellent. So what's that company? What are you all about? What are you doing? It's VERIPHIX, right?
Sure,
so
yeah.
What are you doing?
VERIPHIX, we are a data company. We have a machine learning based platform that creates belief insights. So if we're reshaping the way that you understand how to interact with a customer, in that we can identify through a small survey sample size, say 100 people, the beliefs of a group, and then how to actually nudge or influence those beliefs over time on behalf of a brand, on behalf of an organization, anything like that.
Awesome. So, we'll talk about your experience here. So you're here as part of the Fuel Artificial Intelligence Accelerator, which brings about 10 companies from around the world here each year. What's your experience with Fuel been?
Sure. So, I'm certainly got the shortest distance to travel. We've had people from Austin, Arizona, New York, South Korea, Turkey, the UK. A really great mix of people that are at the program. It has been, and I've been around a lot of accelerator programs. I help I guess for the last 9 years with South by Southwest. It's what we called accelerator at South by Interactive, and also the ones out of Little Rock with the Venture Center. And what's been really amazing about this, and candidly, the reason the company agreed for me to come here was because of the level of connections that you could get in target markets for enterprise, logistics, retail, CPG, to just be able to have those conversations exhaustively on a daily basis, just as many people and connections you want to make and validate your ideas off of is just invaluable.
That's great. So what have you, I guess, learned in the accelerator so far? You had a bunch of amazing conversations with folks.
Yeah.
What else have you learned?
Well, so being an entrepreneur for many years, one thing I've learned, because this is an enterprise-based town, essentially. I mean, it's a big corporate town. I had to relearn how to use LinkedIn. You just don't do that as an entrepreneur too much, because you just get spam on it. So this has been that's maybe been one of the things that I've revisited that I hadn't really done in years. But from the curriculum, a lot of the value has been in how we navigate inside the enterprise today, because there's so many nuances of how decisions are made. Happy to say we're launching pilots with some of the corporations around here out of the accelerator, which is exactly what we were trying to accomplish.
Sure.
Coming in.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, you're right, it is a big enterprise town, so to speak. And then sort of a byproduct of it is that you then have this amazing startup scene that happens around it, because who doesn't want to sell to enterprise?
Yeah, and I think that's an attractant. I mean, obviously, no one but me is from the region, and so there was a definite interest, and I know confident we're gonna have other companies that stay, besides VERIPHIX out of the out of the program here, because if you want to work with the world's largest company, if you want to walk down the street and bump into any sort of executive or whatever, I mean, it's a dog park, wherever you are, then it's a great place to be.
Yeah, and it's really neat because you have not only Walmart, let's go ahead and name that world's largest company while we're at it, is you have 1,400 of their vendors across a couple of counties here, and so it's not just them you're running into, and the folks from JB Hunt, the folks from Tyson, the folks from ArcBest, who's a little bit further from here, but close enough. But you're running into 1,400 vendors, and all of them have some sort of decision-making executive here. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no, and we're certainly taking advantage of that. I mean, there's no way in 3 months that you could have a conversation with everyone in town, which is why I'll be staying here on behalf of the company as we open up in the area, because we'll I mean, as we're ending fuel this week, I've got conversations booked out into next week already, so it continues on.
Absolutely. So let's talk about a little bit more of here. Let's start with Tech Summit. Why are you here at the Northwest Arkansas Tech Summit? What's been your experience so far on day one, and what are you expecting to get out of it?
Sure. So I have attended the Tech Summit previously. In fact, my last company was part of the entrepreneurial program, and we spoke at it. It's always been very invaluable for a small company like us, because it's again one of those situations where you're going to bump into people who are the exact people that you need to speak to inside of an organization, and because they're targeted to the niches that they are, say healthcare, entrepreneurship, cybersecurity, whichever track it is, you're literally having a conversation with the exact person might take you months and months and months to find. And that's what I found, really unique about it. This new arrangement, at least it's new to me, of being around town is also pretty cool versus just being all crammed in a boring convention center.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about Bentonville is we typically do what I call the unconference conference.
Yeah.
In this case, 5 different venues all in close proximity to each other, instead of being stuck in the same convention center or hotel that's tied to the convention center, and maybe getting out for dinner, and then if you are going out to do the other things you have to do after dinner, and it just makes you tired.
Oh yeah.
Right? And it's kind of boring. But here you get to get out and walk around and see the town and be healthy and keep your mind fresh during the conference, and I love it.
Exercise never bad.
So let's talk about Bentonville more. What's your experience been here? How are you enjoying the town? What have you been able to get out and do?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm not brand new to Bentonville. I was coming here. In fact, we worked with some of the companies there. Movista down the road, was a client of ours. And this is all pre-COVID, so I didn't really get up here for almost 3 years, and just the new buildings and new construction, and it's just amazing how continually changing that the town is. There's a lot of commitment to it, I guess I should say, which is really good for me personally. I adopted a puppy right before the accelerator started, right before I knew that I was, accepted into it. And so, I've been able to use all of the dog-friendly areas around town, which has been cool. Osage Park's one of the, probably my dog's favorite place to go on the planet.
Love it.
That's a wonderful one. And we can just walk the little boardwalk through the park over to Bentonville Brewery.
Sure. And
there's another dog park back there, and so I can't lose in that situation. And it's been great. Top notch, and again, any time you are anywhere, whether it's in the dog park or whether you're out to a restaurant or whatever, you're always going to bump into people that are valuable for you to get to know.
True. Hey, pro tip, if you go around dusk at Osage Park and walk the boardwalk, walk through the wetlands, your dog might get a chance to interact with the beavers.
Yes, actually, we saw them one night.
Oh, nice.
She fortunately did not jump in the water. I don't think she's that much of a water dog, so I was glad for that. I was wondering what else was out there. Beavers aren't bad, so.
Yeah, as I understand it, the beavers moved in as they were building the park, and rather than try to get rid of them, they decided to coexist with them. Such a cool park,
very
butted
cool.
up against Thatenville, which is the municipal airport, which, by the way, Aviation Magazine called the #1 coolest airport in America this year.
Congratulations.
But you mentioned earlier construction, giving our audience an idea of how much construction is happening here. In Bentonville, we picture a town of 60,000 people that pulled $1.2 or $1.3 billion in construction permits last year. That's Bentonville. And
don't doubt it.
To be fair, a fair amount of that is about a little over half of that is the new campus, part of the new campus that Walmart is putting up. 350 beautiful acres. Just talked about it the other day with Courtney Barrett on the podcast, and I think I was just gushing with her. She's the director of workplace mobility at Walmart, and I was just gushing to her about about how incredible that campus is, that I've been on a lot of tech campuses in Silicon Valley, and that place is, from everything I can tell, going to be just as fantastic, if not surpass many of those campuses, which is incredible.
I'd agree, and I the from what I've read and the pictures I've seen, it definitely looks like it. The integration with the trail system, I think is going to be really unique. The Walton family giving the money for the athletic facility there, is just icing on the top. I think that is just amazing. So
absolutely
looking forward to seeing it finished.
Yeah, well, what you mentioned, I would call it a hashtag Bentonville thing, putting trails like, the Razorback Greenway, rerouting it through the middle of campus, having a mountain biking trail on campus. What Fortune 500 company has that? Well, only one Fortune 1 company we'll have a mountain biking trail on its campus.
Yep.
But so with that said, let's wrap this up with you telling me a story. And it would be a hashtag because Bentonville story. In other words, a story that sort of speaks to the uniqueness of Bentonville or the essence of this place.
Sure. So I'm in charge of commercialization for VERIPHIX. We've been in the government space for about 3 years. We do some really cool things, and I've been tasked with figuring out how and where we need to grow the commercial side of our business outside of Washington, D.C. And so I've invited in, and Mark Walsh, our chairman, and also a venture capitalist, he's got Ruxton Ventures, wanted to come to town. He's a big fan of Arkansas. He hasn't spent too much time in Northwest Arkansas, but he's a big fan of the state. And then Adam Heisch, our head of operations, are here with me. And the first meetings we had this morning, so we literally have only been here for about an hour and a half, and we met with the fuel representatives as well as Jeff Amron, and then walked over with Toby and to the conference room at the collaborative facility that looks out on the trail and to the back of the momentary. And Toby starts to describe a little bit of what's going on, and Mark starts to tell his background, of which includes AOL. He was one of the execs at AOL originally, and Toby goes, "Oh, yeah, Steve Case, the former CEO there, he's going to be in town in a couple of days. He's having a conference with Condoleezza Rice and all these other people." And by the 5 minutes later, Mark Walsh, our lead investor and chairman, was like, "All right, I'm canceling my flight." he said, "I can tell this is a place that I need to stay." So, and that is one of those things that it doesn't surprise me at all that there's just the timing of, us having somebody he has a connection in with, because so many people are coming through, this part of the country now. So,
absolutely, that wouldn't be the first time I've heard somebody get here and spend a day or so here and decide they have to cancel their flight.
It was an hour and a half,
Bit longer. An hour and a half. I love quick decision makers.
There you go.
Speaking of Steve Case, he just wrote a book. Hey, I guess I'm plugging a book on the podcast now. Steve Case just wrote a book, or dropped his newest book, Rise of the Rest. Steve, you owe me. All two of my listeners will pick up that book now, but it does mention Bentonville very early in the book and talks about the Northwest Arkansas ecosystem.
Absolutely.
A great book about, the rest of the country and what's happening. Mike, this has been great. Thanks for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Let me introduce you to Phil Shellhammer, Senior Director of Business Innovation at the University of Arkansas. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thanks, James.
Hey, Phil. Phil is my first repeat offender on the Bentonville Beacon podcast.
For a second time.
And I remember how big his eyes got when he realized not only was he one of my early guests on this show, but I think maybe in the second sentence, I mentioned that it was season 1, episode 1.
Yes.
And so
put a lot of pressure on me right off the bat. That was tough.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for being my guinea pig and unknowingly doing it.
I mean, I came back, so it couldn't have been that bad.
Yeah, not too terrible. So, Phil, let's get, in the first show, you talked about the Greenhouse Outdoor Recreation Program.
Yeah, Yep.
So will you give us an update on that? If you will, remind the audience what that is,
Sure.
And then give us an update on how things are going.
Sure. Greenhouse Outdoor Recreation Program. So we call it GORP. GORP is an incubator for startups, for early stage entrepreneurs. They're trying to build some solution within outdoor recreation specifically. So it could be products, services, digital solutions, anything that has to do with trying to solve a problem within outdoor rec. And we do that through kind of ongoing a la carte throughout the year we help. And then twice a year we have this intensive incubator that people apply to. When they get accepted, they get team-based mentoring, a student from the university as an intern, financial support. We give up to $15,000 of non-dilutive seed funding, which really helps a lot of these companies get from idea to launch and get ready for their launch. So, yeah.
$15,000 non-diluted funding is really, for companies like this, can be the difference between I'm able to launch,
no doubt,
and not doing anything at all, right?
No doubt. It's a huge first step. We're funded by the Walton Family Foundation, and just the ability to have that initial funds for them to get their business off the ground. For many companies, it makes a huge difference, no doubt.
You bet. Can you give us an update on the progress of the program? I guess you are on cohort 2.
We are.
Maybe tell us about some of the companies that have been in the program or in the program, whatever you want.
Yeah. So we have 7 companies in this time. So the first time we did 4 in the spring. All 4 companies still viable, still going strong. Nice. Great stories from each one of them. But this time we have 7 companies in, so we're able to expand. We have a lot of applicants coming, so we're trying to get as many as we can in. And this time we have a lot of product companies. So we have 5 different product companies. 3 of them, 3 individual companies are all building bikes. Nice. And yet each one are building different types of bikes, none of them competitive with each other. And then we have a couple of great service companies as well. Not all this is cycling, of course, because we have a great camping solution. We have a tour guide for Buffalo River tours nice. in our group as well. So we've got a really good mix of companies, just heavier on the product side this time.
That's cool. I want to mention the Buffalo River real quick since you mentioned it. For those who may not know, that is the nation's first national river. And gosh, I saw recently it's 50, 60 years.
It was a big anniversary, 30, 50, 60,
maybe 40.
Like that,
yeah, I can't get it right. You can look it up. But
Google it.
A multi-decade anniversary recently in a river I spent a lot of time on.
It's amazing.
Growing up, since my dad grew up near the Buffalo River. For the sake of time, let's do some rapid fire questions first.
Sure.
Let's do rapid fire Bentonville questions.
Okay.
Favorite restaurants, and I'll put an S on the end of it to give you.
So I can put more than one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because it really does depend on what I'm looking for that night. So the staple for us for the longest time has been Table Mesa. Like Table Mesa has always been our favorite one. It's the one restaurant we refuse to take the kids. Like any other place we can go, kids get, but Table Mesa for us is just my wife and I go there. We're not going to bring the kids in that place. So Table Mesa is awesome, and definitely would be our top choice if we're picking a place to go. But there's so many great places that have come up recently. That we keep finding new all the time. Like, oh, there's a new place, we got to try that. Oh, we got to try that. Here's a food truck over here. This is phenomenal, right? So we keep adding to that list, but Table Mesa is kind of that staple that we always go back to.
Very nice. Favorite museum?
Favorite museum? Well, there are multiple ones around for sure. I'm gonna go sideways on you a bit. So Crystal Bridges obviously is gorgeous, beautiful, amazing museum. But there's something called Shiloh Museum of the Ozarks down in Springdale. And I happened to get to know them a little bit better when I was working on the project before this role. And they just have a great story to tell about how this area got built up from indigenous people to now. And so it's really a fascinating story about our area and a great one that I don't think a lot of people make it to.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. Have you ever been to the Museum of Native American History in Bentonville?
I have not. I've heard it's great.
Yeah, made it for the first time a few months ago. It was fantastic. Yep. And I got to tell you, I've never seen such a variety of arrowheads in my life.
Oh, I bet.
I didn't know there were that many possible different arrowheads. It was incredible.
Yeah.
In fact, driving around town, one of the things that you see from time to time, now there's one road with down the road in Rogers, and then you'll see one of these also behind the hub.
Okay.
And that is these giant arrows in the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Recognizing, the past. They're these giant telephone poles that are made into arrows. And that's a big deal around here, public art. So I have to ask that question. Favorite public art?
Oh, boy. Favorite
I'll
public
limit you to
art.
Bentonville.
So, I mean, I love all the steel stuff you see around the trails, right? There's kind of like, there's one in particular that has a whole bunch of bikes just kind of like all one color and stuck together. It's fascinating. It's just a fascinating look. It definitely shows the embracing we have of cycling as a whole here, but I think it's always fascinating to run across that stuff as you're on the trail.
Yeah, exactly. And so, okay, one more. Favorite thing, since you're outdoor rec, favorite thing to do or favorite place to go in the Ozarks to just get away and thing to do?
Well, recently it's been fly fishing. So my dad got me into fly fishing a long time ago. We have amazing world-class fly fishing all up and down northern Arkansas, especially east of us. But, you go off the backside of the Buffalo, off the tailwaters, there's great trout fishing down there. And so lately, and I've got a son who's 15 who's gotten into it with me, and so going with him fly fishing has been quite a bit of fun.
Awesome. All right, one last question.
Sure.
Tell me a story. This is a hashtag because Bentonville story. In other words, a moment or something that could only happen here or tells the essence of this place.
Yeah, I think, I'll go back to Gorp, right? So a few months ago, I got connected with an entrepreneur in Houston, randomly, right? And they're like, hey, you're doing something outdoor rec up there, and he's doing something outdoor rec in Houston. You should just talk. So I start talking to him. And I'm learning that he's one founder of 3, and the other founder is up in Detroit and then I think out west somewhere. 3 founders all over the place, right? And we start talking to them about what their solution is, and it's trail-based. There's some really interesting pieces to it. And we start talking about Northwest Arkansas. I'm like, well, have you considered this area? Do you know much about it? They didn't know much about it, so they came and visited. And I don't know that you could find another place in the country that would have embraced these 3 founders as much as this city did. Bentonville just put their arms around them. Different groups jumped in to kind of set their schedule for them, help them find people to connect to, learn about what their project is. Entrepreneur support groups come out of the woodwork to kind of say, how can we help? How can we figure this out? And since then, they have been doing pilots through here, tons of customer discovery, and have just been embraced by our community. Now, I don't know if they're going to move here. I have no idea how it's all going to play out at the end of the day. From an economic development standpoint, it'd be great if they did. But regardless, no one started with, we want them to move here. They started with, how can we help you solve a problem that we're passionate about because we love cycling, and you're doing something in the trail space. How can we help you? And this entire community just wrapped their arms around them to the point where you talk to them now, and they will tell you how much they feel like they're part of this community, even if they don't live here.
Awesome. That's a great story. Yeah. I think I know the company you're talking about, and I can tell you based on a recent conversation that the answer is going to be yes. So
I hope so.
Anyway, Phil, thank you so much for taking the time to give us a quick update. And maybe you'll be the first one to go 3 times too.
Oh, I want the hat trick for sure. Thanks, James.
See ya. Wasn't that great? Hey, whether you attended this year or realize you need to attend next year, save these dates. The 2023 Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit will take place October 15th through 17th. And while I can't share all the details yet, here's a little teaser. I got to peek into the early planning discussions and learned one of the leading tracks may be automation and AI. To learn more about this year's Tech Summit, and it's a space to watch for 2023 as well, check out NWATechSummit.com. Also, check out the episodes of the Bentonville Beacon podcast at BentonvilleEconomicDevelopment.com or your favorite podcast player, where of course you'll also hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You'll find weekly Bentonville Beacon episodes are released each Monday, while bonus episodes, including this series, typically drop each Friday. Keep coming back to this podcast to learn more about Bentonville's leaders and their businesses, and more about Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas, where you get more of what you want and less of what you don't. See you next time.